Pokémon Legends ZA is a game that aimed to shake up the Pokémon formula considerably, trading in the turn-based battle style that the Pokémon series was known for a real-time action-based system where attacks can be dodged by moving out of the way, and attacks were placed on cooldown timers after being used. The game released to mixed reception in October of last year. Fans cited the battle style as confusing and inconsistent, the central town as bland and samey, and the graphical quality lacking compared to other first-party experiences on the console, such as Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. In my review, I noted that while the game was rough around the edges, it was fun, and the core gameplay loop, once you got used to it, was enjoyable. One major gripe that a lot of people had with the game is that it launched alongside a pre-order for a $30 DLC pack. The game's price was already leaving people feeling uneasy, and now they're asking for another $30 before we even know if the game is good or not. On top of that, we knew nothing of what the DLC package was going to entail. All we knew is that it would feature 2 new Mega Evolutions for Raichu and center around Hoopa, a famously unexplored character in the Pokemon lore. The game was already $60 to $70 before this, so to get the full package if you were playing on the Switch too, that's $100 out of pocket. Fans were concerned that this was a cheap cash grab on top of an already expensive game. They wondered if the full experience would be locked behind another paywall. Days wound down to the release of the game, which eventually came and went, but as gamers were putting their skills to the test in the ZA Royale, making friends with the Mafia, selling enough pretty feathers to make Canary say their name on stream, or accidentally losing the Jacinthe fight and being forced to wear the dress, the thought lingered in the back of their mind about what this DLC would be like. A couple weeks later, we got our answer. Some new Mega Evolutions and a version of Lumiose with all the color removed. It did at least spark intrigue. What was the significance of the White Voids? What was Hoopa's involvement? Who is this little girl that kept showing up that looks oddly like Diantha? Oh hey, the Pokemon found in these voids are over level 100. That's certainly cool. The one remaining question on everybody's mind, will it be worth the $30 price of entry? No. Simple as that, it really isn't. Let's dig into why. First and foremost, let me get this out of the way. The DLC is not necessary to enjoy Pokémon Legends ZA. The game offers a full 30-hour campaign and side quests that really don't have any overlap with what goes on here, aside from a few small things which we will get into later. You can play ZA without ever being inclined to pick this up, and your experience won't be hampered by you not having it. Unless you actively want more ZA content or just want a specific Pokemon on your team, then feel free to ignore this. Unless you participate in ranked battles. One more thing before I recap. There will be spoilers for Legends ZA and the DLC in this video. It's been a long enough time between the release of these games and now that those who wanted to play it probably already have, so I don't really feel the need to hold anything back. Without further ado, here we go. Mega Dimensions begins shortly after the main game concludes, after the death of AZ. Geez, you really weren't kidding about not holding back, huh? It's almost like I warned you. Anyway, upon heading to the rooftop of Hotel Z, the player is greeted with Ansha, a young girl with a donut braid of her hair, and her partner, the mysterious Hoopa. She asks one thing of the player, and that is to help her craft a delicious donut fit for her partner. Upon agreeing to help, Team MZ turns their kitchen into a donut making station, and the check-in desk to a place where the player can request donuts that they wish to make. The crew realize that they're out of butter, but upon going to grab the last stick from a baker friend of Tawny's, the player is interrupted by Grisham and Tarragon, who are also after the butter. Tarragon wants to use it to make Canary bread, a new merch idea for his granddaughter's live streams. So he enlisted the help of a cafe worker to teach him the ways of making bread. After beating them in a battle, Tawny hands over a little bit of butter so their brainchild can come to life. After that, the player heads back to the hotel and the donut making process begins. We give Ansha some of the berries that we had stored from our playthrough, and she makes us a donut, which Hoopa eats to get the energy to open up a gate to Hyperspace Lumiose, an alternate dimension filled with strong Pokemon that aren't native to Lumiose or Kalos, and sometimes even legendary Pokemon. This is the primary loop for the DLC. Gather berries to open up a wormhole to another dimension. In said dimension, you have a list of tasks that you are encouraged to complete, and a set time to do them in. No biggie if you can't complete them in the set amount of time, but if you can, you are rewarded greatly with rare items and hyper berries that are used specifically in donut making, and allow the player to get much stronger effects from the donuts that they make, as well as last longer in a dimension. Complete enough of these tasks, and you're allowed to progress to the next section of the game. The next day, the MZ crew, alongside Ansha, are called into the Rust Syndicate. It is here that Corbeau and Vinny tell the player that a bunch of wormholes have opened up over the city, with a big one opening right above the old destroyed Prism Tower in Wild Zone 20. We must use Hoopa's power in order to enter these wormholes and put a stop to what is going on. As we progress throughout the game, we find a bevy of the DLC's new megas, each one rewarding us with better butter, allowing us to make stronger donuts, each donut getting us closer and closer to the big wormhole above the tower. Tagging along in said mega battles is returning character Karina, the fighting type gym leader in X and Y. Along the way, we find out that Ancha has this dream of bringing her mother a powerful Pokemon. This Pokemon? Rayquaza. There's also a subplot where the player has reoccurring nightmares where a mysterious Pokemon tells them to stay away. We fight a series of mega evolutions that yield increasingly strong butter until we are strong enough to take on the wormhole above Prism Tower, and surprise surprise, the one giving us those nightmares is Mega Darkrai. After that, the quest to find the Pokemon of Ancha's dreams begins. You make special donuts to find Groudon and Kyogre before eventually fighting the big target himself, Rayquaza. You catch Rayquaza, bring it to Lumiose, and give it to Ancha, who is ultimately unsatisfied with the whole experience. She loved her time as MZ's donut chef and would be sad to see it end so soon. She also remarks that giving Diantha a Rayquaza would be a tough act to follow. Karina lets her know that she has several gifts that she could give. The stories of her adventures in Hyperspace Lumiose with Team MZ. Ancha decides to take Karina's words to heart, staying with Team MZ and leaving Rayquaza in your care. If it sounds like I'm listing a bunch of out-of-context plot points together, yeah, I am. Things just kind of happen in Mega Dimensions. If I were to sit here and go through the entire story beat for beat, it would sound like, okay, so we meet this girl, and then this happens, and we fight this Mega, then this Mega, then this Mega. Oh shoot, Darkrai's here. Wait, isn't this supposed to be about Mega Rayquaza? Oh yeah, he's here too. I guess Hoopa's here too as well. I almost feel bad for that Pokemon. You had 2 chances to matter in the plot and you blew them both. There's this entire subplot I didn't even mention about Jacinthe trying to bring back Ancha to another hotel. The reason I didn't mention that is that while yes, it is very funny, it doesn't really serve to develop or tell us anything about these characters involved. And no, finding out that Ancha is Diantha's daughter or that Jacinthe studied under Diantha directly is not substantial development. This entire plotline doesn't really serve to flesh out Ancha any more than she's Diantha's daughter, and feels largely disconnected from the Rayquaza and Darkrai plotlines. In fact, didn't it seem kind of weird that I just mentioned Darkrai without elaborating on it really? Well, unfortunately, that's the place the game goes with this information. Darkrai does actually serve a purpose in the plotline. That by all means is an interesting idea. Due to the energy given off by the tower in Lumiose, Darkrai has Rogue Mega evolved, spawning dimensions that are a combination between dreams and memory. The problem? We only really learn about this right before the final fight with Darkrai. It just kind of glazes over these admittedly cool set pieces. They're gone as soon as they arrive. It's not centralized on one idea, but haphazardly bouncing between 3. And can we just talk about how Karina is just here? Like, they make this big deal about how this lore important character is returning to the main story, but they do nothing with her. We don't really get to learn anything interesting about her, and you could put Naveen and Lita in her place and the story would not change at all. I mean, sure, it does right around the fact that they aren't able to fight, but that just compounds the problem that these characters feel kind of half-baked. It's almost like this is a consistent problem with the story of ZA. And can we just talk about Hoopa? Game Freak made Hoopa front and center in the advertising for Mega Dimensions, and it serves no significance in the story outside of being your mode of transportation. Hoopa is such an interesting Pokemon conceptually, and the writers have continuously dropped the ball with his involvement. The disappointment of finding out that Hoopa doesn't do anything in Oros despite being the reason that the legendary rings appear throughout Hoenn, its movie appearance where they take this wicked cool looking Unbound form and whittle him down to a dumb oaf just causing havoc to feel strong, and here where he gets to be a MacGuffin and a side quest, and that's it. I was excited when I found out the DLC was going to center around Hoopa, but now I'm just begging someone to do something interesting with this guy. Another plot point that the game introduces is that these ultra wormholes are based on the collective unconscious of Lumiose. Ugh. So like, it was a plot point in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald that these legendaries appearing causes the world to fall into calamity, but now I guess we could just will them into reality if we want them hard enough? See what I mean? Because nothing is ever really expanded upon, it just lets wild implications slip through the cracks, and I'm just going in circles at this point. Alright, passionate story takedown aside, how is the actual gameplay? Like I said, the core gameplay loop revolves around hopping into these wormhole distortions and completing a series of tasks that the game will randomly give you. These can range from catching a specific Pokemon, popping these item balloons shaped like Pokeballs, collecting items on the ground, catching a specific number of wild Pokemon, you get it. Complete all 3 in a given wormhole and a gold Pokeball will spawn somewhere in the map. You have limited limited time to complete the tasks at hand, but you want to make sure you complete them with enough time to find the gold Pokeball when you're done. As you go on, you'll find red wormholes that indicate the area won't have any catchable Pokemon, but instead will be a gauntlet of battles against strong trainers that give rare items, and yellow wormholes that indicate either a battle against a Mega Pokemon or a side quest is at hand. Those portals being how you get most of the new Mega Stones. This isn't a bad idea by any means. The bulk of the gameplay centering around a repeatable action with heavy RNG is actually the reason I like Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra so much, so I wasn't opposed to the idea. There are a few things that dampen the experience, however. For one, the Pokemon in the Mega Dimensions don't really give any experience yield, so there's no point in really fighting them. That just leaves the tasks, and those get repetitive real fast. There's only so many balloons I can pop before I'm eyeing my copy of Kirby Air Riders, wondering if I'm wasting my time. It doesn't seem well thought out is what I'm saying. Kinda lazy, in fact. The battles against strong trainers are kinda fun, taking inspiration from the ZA Royale, and the fights against Mega Pokemon remain the best part of the game, with the new ones they added being really fun and unique. One of the things I really like about this DLC is the fact that they took into account that your team is probably going to be level 100, and planned around it. One thing about the older Pokemon DLCs is that usually to get a meaty challenge out of them, you'd have to build a new team from scratch, which is cool. I have no problem with that, but that usually means that the Pokemon you trained up in the main game are going to have to be benched so you won't be 20 levels above the competition. It's been a balancing issue as long as Pokemon has had a DLC. I love that Mega Dimensions says, no, you're going to beat the game and be level 100 or you're going to have a tough time. Planning around that allows the game to pull off some interesting challenges. The Mega Fights are the best part of the DLC, both the story battles and the side quests. These hold the tradition of being some of the best battles in the series. These fights are not only tough and challenging, but creative as well. They feel like an actual evolution of the fights we got in the base game, bringing more concepts and ideas into the fold. The Tatsugiri fight takes place in a gigantified sushi restaurant as he throws caviar at you. Meowstic locks himself in a room with psychic walls and you have to find the right tile to crumble before it explodes. There is a territory war between two Mega Crabominable and you have to fight both of them at the same time. The entire Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza fights are big nods to Oros, taking place in their respective biomes, or in Rayquaza's case, Sky Pillar. I like this because it feels like a new spin on something that fans know very well. In all respects, this feels like the evolution to the Pokemon formula that this entire game was going for, summed up in 3 fights. Another thing that makes these fights interesting is there is a time component too. When Hoopa eats a donut, you only have a limited amount of time in the Mega Dimension. It varies based on threat level, berry count, and other factors, but on average you'll have about 7 minutes to complete a task. This means that you have to be proactive in your approach, and that's not easy. One wrong move and that could send your Pokemon into a world of hurt. For example, Mega Heatran has an attack where he sends magma tornadoes at you and your Pokemon. While doing this, he also launches a flamethrower at you that forces you to keep running or you'll take damage. So you have to be precise about when you call back your Pokemon or send it out for an attack. Did I mention that you also have to contend with these magma balls that he throws at you, that if you don't get them out of the way in time, they'll explode? All that while on a timer. It's more frantic fights with more creative gimmicks. Each Mega or Primal fight is like this, by the way. As a Pokemon veteran who's played every generation, there are a few times that I even lost some of these fights. Either because the time got me, or I miscalculated a strategy and chose the wrong time to attack. It will actually put your skills to the test, and I like that about this. As always, the side content and competitive ranked PvP continue to remain among the best content in this game. For competitive, it's more of the stuff we loved from ZA, with a bunch of new Pokemon and Megas to diversify the online ladder. A few seasons later, and it's really become the thing I love most about Legends ZA. It sounds weird to say this, but a lot of the things that I had an issue with in the main story actually do a complete 180 and become things I really love about the experience. Like, yeah, it sucks having your Pokemon being auto-targeted in a 1v1 with no way to avoid it, but in a free-for-all where opponents are constantly moving around and attacks take time to charge up, it becomes something that I can rely on to get the knockout when I need it to. I mean, yeah, it does trade the traditional roll compression aspect that competitive Pokemon is known for a system dominated by setup sweepers where everything has to have max HP, and that's due to the awkward way that the Pokemon stat system translates to this new battle style, and the 3-switch rule that Ranked has. In return, however, you get a fast and frantic war zone where your goal becomes causing the most destruction before you inevitably get taken down. It's not a simpler system, but one that prioritizes different things. You may opt out of certain coverage moves for moves that affect different ranges. Moves like Charge and Focus Energy have newfound profound uses just because of the way that timing works, and because attacks have to be dodged and landed in real time, moves like Fire Blast and Zap Cannon are far more powerful. As for side quests, they keep the strong sense of theming they had in the base game, but it seems like the team designing these are having a lot more fun with it. One of my favorite is the Elite Four, composed entirely of specially trimmed poodles. I also really like the one where you help someone live out their fantasy of having a childhood rival. They also got to do more with the main cast. Lita and Naveen both get quests that kind of function as conclusions to their arc. Jacinthe gets a funny one where she adds you to a tournament where she is the only opponent. Each member of the Lumios cast gets one new side quest at least. I don't have time to get into all of them, so for the sake of the video's pacing, which one was your favorite? Leave your answer in the comments below. Pokémon Mega Dimensions has a lot of great ideas, but those ideas are done a complete disservice by how lazy the rest of the DLC is. Either in its story that rushes through its interesting ideas before the game can do anything with them, a gameplay loop that shows you everything it has to offer in the first hour or two, and environments that are cobbled together out of scraps from the base game and sold back to you. Seriously, how come many franchises take the idea of alternate dimensions and whittle it down to the most basic and boring ideas they can think of? Your imagination is the limit, come on people! I really wanted to recommend this DLC to you guys. When it gets good, it gets really good. But unfortunately, this whole package is far too cynical for my liking. If it were $10, it would be a hard recommendation. $20, pushing it, but yeah, I could still recommend it. But it's $30 for an experience that doesn't offer enough for its asking price. Especially when you could play through the entirety of Fire Red and Leaf Green for only $20. Buy only if you're desperate for more ZA content, want to use the Pokemon that they brought back for this game, or are a competitive player. But if you're a competitive player, you probably already bought it. How are y'all enjoying the new season, by the way? Anyways, I said the next video would be the start of the channel's first major project since the rebrand, but I think there's still a few more videos I want to do before then. I think it's finally time that I can comfortably talk about Legend ZA's story. I've got a lot to say about it, and I feel like it would make a nice way to kinda cap off my ZA analysis videos I've been making. And then afterwards, the release of Pokopia in March. So if you don't want to miss any of that, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the story analysis, whenever that may be. Pokemon Legends ZA was a very interesting game, shaking up the Pokemon formula as we know it and trying something new. I did a video about the base game if you want to hear my opinions on that. If you're as sick of hearing about ZA as I am talking about it, I recently did a video on Pokemon TCG Pocket you could check out here as well. I really appreciate your continued support. It really goes a long way in keeping this channel going. I'd like to give a big special shout out to Trainer Connor 100 for doing the audio editing as always. He does a fantastic job on these, and my channel would not be as good without his help. With that, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.